Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about PPC campaigns and specifically using AMP as a way to make your Google Ads PPC campaigns get better results. We're talking about 85% increase in the actual profit your campaigns are making, at least from the mobile side of your campaigns. And anymore, mobile is just as much or even more of your market searching at any time. And given the mobile traffic's worth a little less, but for what it's worth, the value it does bring, I can guarantee you basically a way, as long as you fit the criteria here, a way to increase the mobile profitability by 85% just by using these AMP pages that Google provides us for free to be able to do. I'll give you the exact process to do that, how to find out if you qualify, which I'd say 80% of you guys qualify out there, and where the 85% basically comes from. I ran a case study. We had a great example of where we did this, and we actually ran desktop and mobile campaigns, and the mobile campaigns just had AMP behind them, and showing you the results between the the increase in conversion rates and the increase in quality scores, how that combined to give an 85% increase in profitability from our ads. I've seen similar results doing it from other people without having to actually calculate the numbers, because generally speaking, I'll explain why the hard numbers aren't there on a few different campaigns, but because I had the chance to do this on two separate campaigns, so I could do a direct apples to apples comparison, I'm giving you that data on this video today to be able to use and utilize. Okay, so we'll get into it. So how do you increase your ads profitability on mobile by 85% when you're on your Google ads that you're running today? Getting an impressive profit increase on campaigns using AMP is directly related to 4G, or basically whatever 3G, whatever it is, that network that your prospects, how they're accessing the internet via their mobile device, is slower than your standard desktop connection will be, and any site or landing pages that you send traffic to then in that case on mobile will generally load then longer than the 3 seconds that you want your web pages to typically load in. So in other words, the mobile internet's generally just slower by nature because that's how the infrastructure is set up. And so people, when they look at the load speed of their sites, they don't necessarily look at the mobile load speed. There's a tool that you can do that specifically on, in case you're curious or haven't figured it out yet. But you have to think about the load speed is separate desktop from mobile, because they are very different based upon the typical load speed of, like I said, mobile networks versus a home fiber connection at your house, that most people have now, let's say, at least in the US. But regardless of if you're in a different country, it's the same stuff. It's the same thing applies. Mobile's generally slower. This is why I recommend that you look into this. So anyway, if your site loads slower than 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, I can pretty much guarantee you a decrease in your profitability. So in other words, because you're on a mobile, you're advertising to people that are using mobile devices that are on a mobile network, which usually runs slower by nature, and then naturally, because I've tested this a few times, it'll take longer than 3 seconds to load the page. Even if you have a good website right now, you'd be surprised. I bet 70 to 80% of you guys have a mobile site that, as long as you're not using AMP right now, that loads slower than 3 seconds. I was actually surprised when I did an audit on this as well. So you're taking an automatic hit in how much money you can make from your ads, because you basically have done nothing to speed up the mobile user experience for people on mobile devices when you send people from Google Ads to your site that are on mobile devices. Excuse me. So you'll take it, because the site, or when the site loads slower than 3 seconds on mobile, you'll take an immediate hit in both conversion rate that you have. Why? Because your bounce rates increase. It's all about expectations. People click on your ad on a mobile device. They're waiting for the page to load. 1 second, 2 seconds. Oh, screw it. I leave. they expect a certain amount of waiting time. After you've breached that average point in which people expect the page to load, people get more and more pissed off. And you'll get more and more percentage to leave. Like if you're waiting in a doctor's office, you expected to wait 20 minutes. After 30, a little bit pissed. After 40, you're more pissed. And it progressively gets worse. More and more people are just going to get up and say, F this, I leave. Screw it. The site, well, how people interact with your mobile site or your site when people on mobile devices are the same way. Because the bounce rates and the number of people who just click back, because it's so easy to do to click back and click on another site, which they should probably just stick through it, because if they waited another second and a half, they would have it. That's not how people behave. So increase in bounce rates means decrease in the amount of people who convert into a lead or a sale. Now, the amount of people who bounce back to Google to click on something else, which progressively gets higher, the longer and longer they have to wait proportionally, the lower your quality score is going to be, which is the score Google gives to you that rates basically on a keyword by keyword basis, if you don't know it already, how much you should pay per click. One person's going to pay $1 per click for one set keyword in your market. Another person's going to pay $6 based upon how good of a job people do of keeping people on your page once they click on your ad and get them to stay there and meet their needs versus going back and clicking on something else. They measure every click that every one of their users on their site on google.com does, and then they penalize you by charging you more the worse job you do serving their users, because they want people to come back and use Google. Okay? So your quality scores take a hit, which means you're going to pay more per click, which means you're getting hit two ways by having a mobile site that for people on mobile devices that loads slower than 3 seconds, because your conversion rate goes down, your cost per click goes up. So you're getting hit two angles. Okay, so how do you basically fix this? Well, before I do that, I'll give you my exact method that you can see if your site on mobile specifically loads slower than 3 seconds, and then what to exactly do about it to get this 85%. The case study that I started out this video mentioning, I had somebody who was doing lead generation, okay, and they had a situation where we had to set up we didn't AMP for the client to get them better results. We had to set it up on a separate domain because they were using a like a Wix type site thing, and there was limitations in which in order for us to use AMP on that same domain, so we had to put it on another domain. And because it was on another domain, we had to run 2 different campaigns, because you can't use send people to 2 different domains in the same ad groups. If you didn't know that, that's true. So anyway, we did that, and as a byproduct of that, like I said, we got a clear comparison of what AMP will do by itself on mobile versus what people will do sending them to your traditional site that may be responsive still, but not AMP specifically, okay? So respectively, that site loaded in about 3.5 seconds on mobile before we used AMP, okay? This was verified. The site on mobile, once we did AMP, now loads in 7.7 seconds. It's not an embellishment. You can get under a second load times, even on mobile, because of the caching that they have. And because Google has servers all over the place, you don't have to go very far to physically go fetch the website for your device that you're on. It just physically gets to you faster in terms of ping time, and respectively, it loads. Essentially, before you click on the ad, the page is already loaded in Google server, and now they just host it to you after you click on the ad. So just something you physically can't do without using Google's help via the AMP. So what does that actually do with results? Breaking it down, we had a 50% increase in our conversion rates, going from a 3.5 second to a 0.7 second load time. And all we had to do was use AMP. On top of that, remember I said it hurts your conversion rates and it hurts your quality scores when you are over 3 seconds of load time. We had a 20% increase in quality score That's getting mixed up here. 20% increase in quality score. So the quality scores were able to improve by 20% in terms of going from a 6 closer to an 8 there, but just by using AMP. So physically saw the quality scores in those two different campaigns different from one another. And that's about the spread we were talking about. Started out at about a 6 and went to an 8 for mobile, just because it loads super fast now. On top of that, another way to look at this basically, 35% decrease in cost due to quality scores drop. So like I said before, the higher your quality score at a, closer to a 10 that you get on a quality score at a 10, the less you're paying per click. Because it loads faster, less people are bouncing back to Google, we get a 20% increase in quality score. That 20% increase in quality score translated directly into a 35% decrease in cost per click. So people think that if I get a 20% increase in quality score, my cost per click will go down 20%. It's not directly proportional. If you Google click-through rates effect on quality scores or bounce rates effect on quality scores, you'll see a chart where Livestream has done case study over hundreds of accounts, and they'll show you it's not directly proportional, and you can see how an increase in so much click-through rate can provide so much increase in quality score, and how that quality score, and it also directly compared quality score to cost per lead or cost per sale. All that data is out there. Livestream has some good case studies on that, where they actually physically show you tables and charts, scatter charts, but you'll see why, respectively, a small jump in quality score will get you a big decrease in your cost per click. Okay? Half of the quality score comes from the landing page experience, whether or not they are satisfied and did they click on something on Google because you did not satisfy them. Half of it is roughly based upon the click-through rate on the ad, in which out of 100 times, how many people click on your ads, and they benchmark you versus the other people who have ads, and are you getting people to click on your ads more than anybody else? And they combine those two to get your quality score. So no matter how good our landing page experience score is, that's still only half of the quality score algorithm. But when you reduce a mobile user load time from an average of 3.5 seconds to 0.7 seconds, even if it's the landing page experience score that Google gives you, which is half of the quality score algorithm, is such a dramatic decrease, and it's specifically over 3 seconds, which I'm going to explain the 3-second thing, why that's so important here next. The quality score was still affected by 20% out of that, okay? So anyway, that's pretty much what you can probably expect on your own thing if you're over a 3-second load time on your mobile, specifically on mobile networks and for mobile users. Now, respectively, not everybody's going to get this same 85% increase in profitability from your mobile traffic from Google Ads that you have. If you're already on mobile, at least, mobile specifically loading already for mobile users less than 3 seconds. And again, like on mobile, you may load in 3.5 seconds. On desktop, you may load in 2.3 seconds. That's a very common spread. So that's why you want to go to the specific site Google has set up to check what your load times are on mobile, specifically what this exact tool I'm going to give you does. It's free. It comes from Google, so it's as authoritative as it gets. But here's a chart of how mobile page, or just load site times directly correlate to bounce rates, or how many people go back to Google and click on something else because they're tired of waiting, essentially. What you'll see, this is called the hockey stick chart, basically. On your left side, we have bounce rate starting from 0 going up to 70% bounce rate, and then load times. You have the 0 to 8 seconds, depending on how long they wait. The longer they wait, the more the bounce rate is. Respectively, if you get the page to load, as you can see here by 0, 1, 2, 3, which is a replication of a study that I copied off another website. There's lots of them out there, but pretty much all of them are the same, okay? you'll notice in the first 3 seconds there, across the dozens of studies that are out there, that the bounce rate basically doesn't go up at all until you've reached 3 seconds of load time already. Because people are, like I said, it's about expectations. They're prepared to wait so long due to their prior expectations, knowing other sites load only so fast. Once you've gotten to the point where their expectations are not met, more and more people drop off. So what you have, after you get to 3 seconds, you get to 4 seconds here, you got a major jump in your bounce rates. Okay? So, respectively, your bounce rates will basically double, going just from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. So even if you have a 3.5 second load time, you can benefit immensely from this method to use AMP to increase the profitability of your mobile traffic right away. As soon as it's implemented, give it, the conversion rate will go up right away. The quality score will be there probably in full 90 days. And then you'll get your, if you were going from 3.5 seconds to using mobile, you'll get your 85% increase in profitability on mobile. But it gets even worse. 85% was only just going from 3.5 seconds load time on mobile to using AMP, which is normally going to get you about less than a second no matter what. Okay? If you go to 5 seconds here, now instead of being twice as many people bouncing, we got 2.5 times. We go to 6 seconds, we have like 3 times as many people bouncing. 7 seconds, you have about 3.5 times people bouncing, and it goes up and up basically. Okay? Whereas, yes, you'll get a smidgen more conversion rate if you can get 2 seconds versus 1 second. But respectively, it's not that big a deal. If it's under 3 seconds already, what your site loads for mobile users, it'll be probably not worth your time to set up AMP. Sorry, Google, but just kind of my opinion on things based upon there's other strategies you could put your time on at least first that you probably aren't using that are on this channel. I'll just put it that way. So there's not much of a change at first in terms of the bounce rates when you're talking about how long people have to wait. You hit 3 seconds, it starts to take off like a rocket in terms of how quickly the bounce rates go up for your mobile users. So you understand, what you're in for. It all comes down to, do I have a load time of over 3 seconds? If so, I can get a big jump in my profitability, almost double it, just by using AMP for my mobile traffic. How to actually go about doing this, I got a method right here that you don't have to mess around, looking around how to do this. Obviously, I'm not giving you all the details, but it's the high level that I usually give in my videos that get you in the general direction, and then you can go find specific articles on how to do each individual point. So here's that information. I mentioned that there's a site you can go to see if you're over 3 seconds in load time. That site, if you want to write it down right now, thinkwithgoogle.com/feature/test-my-site. That's thinkwithgoogle.com/feature/test-my-site. If you can't find it by typing it in, Google it. You should find it anyway, whatever. Now, you test your site. If it loads over 3 seconds, guess what? Congratulations! This strategy will work. Okay? So, and I've done this more than one time, like I said, to verify this. The 3 seconds really is about the threshold point. An AMP is very consistent what you get out of it in terms of load time. So it's just a matter of just determining how fast your page loads on mobile. Once you've done that, you know this strategy will work. So assuming you're over 3 seconds, which I said 70 to 80% of you guys probably are already, because mobile traffic naturally moves slow on 4G. Maybe 5G will change that. If using a landing page builder, you don't have to. So here's where it does take some effort to use AMP, but it doesn't have to necessarily. If you use a landing page tool like Unbounce, like Instapage, they have inherently built within their tool, you can build your page for desktop/mobile responsiveness, right? But now they knew how powerful this AMP stuff is, and they wanted to be competitive in their market. They had a secondary option where you can also not only make your page mobile responsive, but you can actually also have an option to make your page an AMP. So you can do this without having to screw around with coding. It's just a drag and drop thing. I recommend, if you're going to do this, to use the page builders. Why? You don't have to know how to code anything. Okay? But that's me. Maybe you don't care if you have to do coding. If you use a landing page builder, I know for a fact Unbounce and Instapage has that inherent thing where you can just take the page you have, you can rearrange it a little bit for the mobile. You know, it's like there's a tab for desktop, then there's a tab for mobile, and then there's a tab for AMP. And when you make the desktop page, it's just a teeny bit more work for mobile, a teeny bit more work for AMP. Okay? In terms of the landing page builders, I'm an Unbounce guy. I always use Unbounce. I've done it for dozens, if not 100 campaigns already. It's the best one. I've tested basically everything. It's the best one. If you want to start using one, that's the one I recommend. Yes, it's expensive, but I've talked about before. It's reliable. It's fast. It loads fast. It's the easiest to use. The best customer support. You get what you pay for. If you don't care about any of that stuff, it has high compatibility with other tools. If you don't want to run into a problem later on and say, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that, just use Unbounce. Okay? If you don't want to use the inherent landing page tools to get AMP compatibility here, or to take your landing pages that you have now or your site you have now and make it into AMP for your campaigns, your PPC campaigns, you can build pages on a separate part of your domain in regular HTML. When I say regular HTML, I'm not a programmer. Basically, the AMP code is using a foundation of HTML. They give you Google gives you the framework of how to code a page in AMP, okay? And so if you have a page, you have a WordPress site, you're gonna have to take the landing page you have now and like rebuild it completely for AMP. That's just the way that it is, okay? And if you have a bunch of pages, that could take you a while, right? But going into the next one here, to mention here, make sure you mirror every existing page you have. No shortcuts. So don't be saying, well, maybe I'll just switch to using one landing page for everything. Any gains you're going to got here will be killed by your inaction of replicating the campaign exactly the way that it was before, but now it's just an AMP form. The goal, 100%, your goal here is to take the landing page you had, and when I look at it side by side, the AMP page that you're going to make you'll take your landing page and you're going to mirror it in AMP. If I look side by side, I should not be able to tell which one's AMP and which one's the old landing page you were using that was non-AMP. Okay? That way there's no, because people think teeny changes, so what's the difference? Every change makes a difference on your results. I don't want you to change something else about what you're doing and then come back here and say AMP didn't work. You want to know right away that what you did worked. And you do that by not taking any shortcuts, by not having to replicate all your landing pages in AMP. You could certainly do one landing page and verify what I'm saying here is working. That's up to you. I'm telling you it's working. You can believe me or don't take my word for it and test one page out. But at the end of the day, the end user experience in terms of the look and the feel of the page has to be identical. Okay? So don't take any shortcuts there. Lastly, once you have a mirror copy of every landing page you were using in your PPC campaigns before, you're going to point your ads and your users to the AMP pages for the people that are mobile users. Now, how do you do that? It's actually very simple. I mentioned before in our situation where this particular test, you had to have a separate campaign which just had the ads that pointed to AMP, and that was because it was on a separate domain. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is open up your ad. Obviously, you know where that ad points to in Google Ads now. You build the mirror page in AMP, and then in the edit menu for that ad, you click on Add URL Options, and then you click, once you have the drop down come down, The interface might change 5 years from now, so don't blame me for that. You then click using different URL for my mobile. That's exactly what it says. It's a checkbox that you click that says using different URL for my mobile, and then there's a blank next to the checkbox asking you where you want to send the mobile traffic to. In this case, it's your AMP page, wherever that existing mirror page that you made that's in AMP now. So and then when you click save, desktop users will start to go to your existing landing page as it was before, but it'll start to divert some of the traffic you have from that the mobile users clicking on your ad, unless you have mobile marked as -0 bit adjustment, or sorry, -100 bit adjustment. Then it'll start to test out your mobile page, sending some of the mobile users to it right away once it knows it's the same, because it can't tell the page is similar. So it'll make sure all the rest of the stats are matching up to your existing ad. And then once it finds out, it'll start sending all the mobile traffic to your AMP page. You'll start getting a conversion rate increase once that happens immediately. And like I said, about 90 days later, your quality scores will come up, probably around a good 20%. You can see that by adjusting your columns in your keywords menu and view and make sure that quality score is there. You can actually break it out by landing page experience score and ad relevance score. And you can physically see the landing page relevance score go up once you've done this, okay? Overall. It'll go up overall because the half of the traffic that's mobile or whatnot, the experience is so much better for the user now because it loads super fast. The quality score will go up a measurable amount. So, respectively, that's exactly what you do if you want to take advantage of this 85% increase in profitability. A site that loads basically any slower than 3 seconds, like it did for us, for yourself, once AMP is implemented fully for your PPC campaign for mobile users. Hope you enjoyed that video. I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other money-making PPC strategies. You should definitely check them out if you want to make some more money with PPC or want to get into it. Can't figure out how to get an edge in your market. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns the way that I build them to guarantee results for our clients, and has more. It's in a different format. Maybe you find some use in that as well. You can find out there. If you have any questions about anything to do with AMP and PPC, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel within a day or two. And with that, hope you enjoyed it like I said, and I'll see you on the next one.